Okay, here we go.
Okay, so what was the question again?
The question is, remember at the recruiting process at SG Gowen, whereby there was first interview and there was the second interview, and there was also now the ultimate interview that was on Saturday. So we had 4 that were qualified, and out of the 4, they only needed 2 even to be hired. From the 4, there was Natalia, and there was Martin Street, there was Ken Golden, and Andy Sanchez. And we're being asked if you are at the bunker on the Super Saturday. That means the final stage of the interview.
Yeah.
So for the 2, even for the 2 that were to fill out the 2 slots that were available, so whom will you vote for?
For me, one of my first votes that I really liked was Natalia. Natalia did pretty good. That I felt with her interview and stuff. Even though they said that she did struggle a little bit with English, but she did know enough languages. Like, I'm pretty sure that she would have fit the position really well. And I think the other one, I was split between Ken and Andy, but like I feel that Andy might be a little bit better because he has that experience behind him in economics. And that he was able to, like, yes, his grades weren't the best, but you don't always need the best grades because he was able to start a business in college and make that, what he said, like $2 million or something like that in revenue. So I would go with those 2.
Anyone with a different opinion? Because I was also of the same opinion. I was thinking Natalia will make a good choice because of her finance background and also the analytical skills, and also the fact that she was even with the company that developed the software used by many of the Wall Street that put at least up front. And also Andy Sanchez. Andy Sanchez being with his skills in entrepreneurship. And I can also remember on Saturday, at the meeting on Saturday, he was very friendly, and he was also good at follow-up in terms of collaboration. So also this makes him give them the qualities of a good team player that is needed in this organization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that Natalia looked like she would be a good candidate. I mean, like you said, like she did kind of struggle with her English, but at the same time, she spoke like fluent Russian and she spoke German and French. Like she's very well rounded, I think, as a person. And she just has like a really good background with like her school. Like she has like an MBA. And I think that she would make a really good candidate.
Okay. Actually, Natalia reminds me of the diversity thing that we were discussing last week. Yeah. Yes, Cynthia.
Yeah, I agree. Natalia's would be the best candidate. Even that she's tough. In bringing tough negotiation, and she's very determined and ambitious. So, and ready to work hard. So I think she'll be a good fit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think if we can, if another information can be vital even for making this decision?
Sorry, what was that? Like, what other information would be vital for making the decision?
Yeah.
Like I know, like, because they didn't give us too much information.
Yeah.
But I think something that would be able to helpful to maybe have with them is like it had, yes, their grades on it, but maybe like some of like the classes that they took for it, because like sometimes they might have not, like in Andy's case, he didn't get as high of grades on things, and it seems like they took like the grades very seriously with things. It says that they didn't really like it for how many C's he got. He got, but like it may have just been in classes that didn't really matter to him. And so I think maybe that might have been helpful just to see where they were focusing on some of those.
Okay. And also, Andy, I remember during the other SATs and GMTAs, he was also performing with quite good. So I think, it was actually all round. Actually, this one gave a clarity that it was only his business that made his grade in school even go down, but it's actually good.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like.
Okay. Do you think if there are some disagreement between the senior bankers in Saturday meeting? Because the question is, why is there so much disagreement between the senior bankers in the Saturday meeting about which recruit to hire?
I think there might have been like so much disagreement because like everyone has different opinions about things. Like with those 4 candidates, they all talked about like there was pros and cons to each one of them. Like I think who was it? I think it was like I don't remember his name, but he came from some other business. I think it was like Ken. He came from some other business that he turned around and helped to do really good and profitable. So they thought that he would be able to do that for their banking company. But other people were like, yeah, but he doesn't have the same background. So like it was interesting just to see, I think, that there's so much disagreement because of what each person was looking for. I'm like, yes, they were looking for the similar things, but each person saw something differently in each person.
Okay. I'm also of the opinion that actually disagreements are also good in making the better choice. Because if all of us maybe agree, people disagree to agree, like they say. So it is important that different opinion are actually important when it comes to recruiting, so that it's not one-sided opinion, and therefore and so that in the long run, whenever maybe some mistake was made, you can just point out that actually now this was this person's opinion. So I believe debate was actually good.
Yeah, no, that's really good because like there's a lot of times like like when we talk about things, I remember like a few weeks ago when we were talking, I don't remember which one it was, I think like diversity. It was interesting to see different viewpoints of different people. Yeah. So like I'm like disagreements aren't always bad. Like what you're saying, because it helps you get viewpoints from other people. And I'm sure that's exactly what you need, especially in like a hiring process like this Super Saturday. Yeah. Like you have so many people coming in doing interviews. You got interviews basically going all day, but it's good to have those disagreements. You can see the different points of view that each person and what you want to actually see in your company and who would be able to fill that position for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's like disagreement is good too, but because also there's sometimes they're operating in a connection to the candidate, like who they're kind of resonating with, or having a feel that it will be a good fit to their team, not thinking about the whole entire organization or other teams. So
okay,
that's why there's also
for some of us maybe that have gone through the HR interview process, so you've much aware of the HR interview. So do you think there are other way of selecting candidates better than the traditional interviews?
I mean, like traditional interviews are good, but like one thing I liked is how they like tried to see what their personal skills were. Like I think they said they took them out to dinner the night before.
Yeah.
I can't remember which person it was, but they said like they didn't really have the best interpersonal skills because it was kind of awkward to have conversations with them. But I thought that part was really nice because you can get a more personal level with them and be able to see how they would react around other coworkers outside of just an interview. Because like an interview, someone can put up some kind of front just during like a normal traditional interview. But like that, you can also see what the other side of the person would be around the workplace.
Okay. Any different
That's
opinion?
true. No, I agree with Hiram. And it's sometimes if the interview is taking place in a informal setting, the candidate is more relaxed and more be able to open up, and you get to know the person, and what that person can bring into the table, and how would be a good fit for the team.
Okay. Also thinking internship is also another important aspect in recruiting, because at least you get a chance even to work with the people, even to learn more of their skills even um, before you actually recruit them finally on hiring them for the position that is available. So I also think by allowing others even to demonstrate their skills, even through such kind of practices, that will also improve the hiring process. Because I also remember the first company that I worked with, uh, I went there as an intern, and I worked there even for at least 2 years, just being paid stipends. And actually, from that, when the position came up, I was absorbed in the organization. So I also think internships are also great. So, so what do you think are the criteria that SG Cohen was using to choose their candidates from the story that we read, from the case that we read? What are some of the criteria that they were using to select their candidates?
What was some of the criteria they were using?
Yeah.
Well, it seems like I think it was like at the end, the paper that they had, it was like basically like their commitment, their judgment, let me see, their interpersonal skills, leadership, technical skills, and work ethic. So like there are general things that would be good, but like it wasn't like very clear on what type of level they wanted, because they just have outstanding, good, fair, unsatisfactory. So these things can be very judgment depending on how well you can communicate with the person. Like they're not very like checkpoint things you can really measure that well. But like it's good, but I think there's ways you could probably find different checks on there that you could check off better. Because their commitment to firm, you could find out how committed they are on like what level. Like if they're really willing to relocate somewhere. Like I know they mentioned at one point if they're willing, because sometimes people from the Midwest can't really work in New York City because it's that big city feel and they don't work well in the atmosphere. So maybe you could have that as like one of the check boxes, seeing if they're able to work in an atmosphere like that as a big city as New York.
Okay. I also remember they had team leaders in various schools that were helping them with the recruiting process. The first contact that will help them in getting those people that will qualify even in their pool of recruits. So I also think that was also a great deal for them. But since we're practicing HR, do you think there are other ways of improving these criteria, even that SG Cohen can even work better than they are right now? This is actually from your own perspective. What do you think they need to do to improve?
So, was this like improving their interview or improving
process.
like their recruitment? Okay, so like
the
through
whole
the
of the
school
recruiting
thing?
process.
Like it was a good process going to the schools and having like different people bring other I don't know, you could say like prospects to the Super Saturday. Maybe what you could do is like hold a little bit more interviews. Like I know they said they had like 1 or 2 interviews or so, depending on the school. So like that's a good idea. I think maybe what they could have done is maybe widened it if they have enough employees to do so, widen up to other schools, because sometimes maybe not everyone can get. I know a couple of them said they're from like Cornell Like I know a lot of people can't have enough money to go to schools like that, so maybe you can find good other employees from smaller schools.
Okay. So maybe in if you were to rate between 1 to 10 uh, of their strategy, what will you give them?
Like their strategy, I would probably give it like an 8 because it's a good strategy. A lot of people just wait for people to come to them or just go through different recruiting. But you can tell how these people are looking for younger people that just got out of school that have that drive and want to get to where, like, I don't know, sometimes in younger people you can find a better drive because they maybe don't have the experience that is needed, but they sure have the drive and are going to try their best to do so. So I think that part was really interesting that they went to straight to schools. Where sometimes like other recruiting, you might just have like a recruiting company, like a private company, go out and look for other people who have had experience or have already worked in this case, some bank firm. So I thought that was kind of interesting. They went straight to school. So I think that's a good idea that they had for them.
Okay. And
I think they have
okay, continue.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No. I think so I would say an 8 or 9. I think they have a good strategy, and the fact that they keep a good pool of candidates, and they're ready for the next season. So they're never run out of good candidates, and they're not rushing to get a position filled because they're taking their time and going through all the candidates and having all these other options.
Yeah. And we remember that their strategy was mainly picking recruits even from schools and colleges, and even picking these recruits from schools and colleges. We know there are some advantages and disadvantages. So what do you think are the pros and cons of this approach of recruiting the on-campus students? Maybe one or two advantages of picking recruit from campus, and maybe two disadvantages of the same.
I think the advantage is that they're like, you're hiring from, like they quote unquote a fresh blood, they have new ideas. They're coming right out of school, or they have, so like, yeah, fresh ideas and stuff and they're eager to work and all that. And they have the drive. The disadvantages, I think, is that they don't have enough, you know, experience wise working in a company and also in the job itself. So it's not something that it would be not, it's nice because they're going to grow with the company, but they're not bringing in that experience that, if they would hire from someone who had been in the industry already.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Cynthia on that. Because like, especially like on the disadvantage part, because I think it was in like the prep on the other article that they were reading that we had read. Shoot, what was it? Man, I forgot. I'll come back in a second.
Okay. I'm also thinking disadvantages that now still most of these recruits were still at the campus, so most of them had not yet even graduated. So I'm also thinking some of them will also need time even to spend with their studies as well as with work. So that will also be a great challenge, even as an employee, even to have a person that is not actually fully devoted to the work, because they also have to work for their grades at school. So they are not likely even to be fully committed to the job.
Yeah, that reminded me because they were worried about that one guy not being able to put the same amount of hours that he did into his previous business. That you can tell. I think they're wanting a lot of hours put in. So like exactly what you guys both were saying, that like with these newer and younger people straight out of school, like if they finish school, then they'll have that time and they will have that drive that they'll be able to work all the hours that they're willing to want to get out of them, so they don't burn out as easy.
Okay. So, okay, when it comes to recruiting, there is also another strategy called the self-selection process. What do you think of this type of process when it comes to recruiting? And considering as you covered, so what type of people will most likely be self-selected? Did you get the question?
No, could you repeat it again? It cut
What
out
was
for
the
me.
question? Sorry.
Okay, the question
Okay.
is, when it comes to recruiting, there's also another process called the self-selection process.
Mm-hmm.
And we are being asked that through self-selection process, what type of people are most likely even to be recruited when it comes to such kind of process? Because self-selection, in my point of view, is whereby you work with some group of people and then you just pinpoint of a person that you think that is right for a certain job. So they don't go through all the rigorous process of interview.
Yeah, so like I think it can be good, like what you're saying. Like if they find someone direct, like immediately right for the position, just like I think like it seemed like what you're saying, just like skip the interview process part of it. Like if they are fit, take them. But sometimes you might need to go through that because like I can tell like this interview process seemed really long for them. Like by the end of it, I felt like that they were just kind of like, okay, can we just like pick someone, get this over with? Like at the end, the guy was like saying, hey, I need to make a home. It's my wife's anniversary or something. So like it's a long process they have for all this, and especially for having it just in like what they said, super sad. I think they started on like Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
They have a lot of people they're going through and interviewing, so they can maybe get burned out. So they might not be able to have that energy they have to interview each person the way that they want to.
I'm also thinking self-selection maybe in some way it can be also be biased because I might choose someone based on maybe my closeness to that person as opposed to the skills and his qualifications, and that might go even cost the company.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I think so. I think I agree with you, Christopher, on that. So if they're like biased and they're only like favoring the ones that would, I think that would be a good fit for their group, and not thinking about the other groups. So, or someone who's, because it's hard to when someone is very charismatic during an interview and they could, really sell themselves, and the person that, might, the interviewer will, might really like that person, but not really, and overlooking other aspects of the qualities and the skills that that candidate can bring in.
And maybe relating to this recruiting in this organization, I don't think if Natalia would have gone through, would have passed if there was this self-selection, because I remember there's someone that didn't like fact that she was not very friendly, and that she was not she was not very fluent with English. So I think when it comes to self-selection, somebody like her might even lose the position, and they might even lose her skills, which is also necessary even to those people that she might be of benefit when it comes to if she's hired in this company. And also this guy that was also working with PwC for 5 years. I remember there was one interviewer that also said that the guy seems to be so much mature that they fear even giving him instructions. So that might also make him not get the chance if he was to be selected.
Yeah, it seems like a very interpersonal thing depending on how their communication skills are.
Yeah.
Because like putting it that way, it sounded like it'd be more like Martin Street and what was that last guy's name? Andy Sanchez, I think it was. Yeah, because like those other two, like what you were saying, he was a little bit older, and so like they didn't feel like they would be able to give him the instructions as well. And being fluent in English, it's kind of hard to have those personal conversations. So like I agree completely with what you're saying. It'd be hard to have or go through that interview process in that way, that self-interviewing with someone that doesn't have those same interpersonal skills.
Okay. Okay. So what do you think was the objective of the Super Saturday? Your opinion?
I think it's a good idea, but it might be like a lot for all like one day because they're maybe not able to focus or take time that may be needed for some of those employees. Because like what I kind of said earlier, like I feel like they kind of at some point are just like, oh, okay, can we be done with this and just pick someone? Where if they had spread this out throughout a couple, like I don't know, a couple weeks or a couple days over time, each person individually, they might be able to find the things that they need more and not just checking things off just to check them off.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's good to have something like that, like the Super Saturday, where they have time to also, when it says it begins on a Friday afternoon. So when they arrive and they get settled and they have dinner, cocktail. So there's also like that aspect where they, so they feel comfortable for that exhausting interview on Saturday. But it's just kind of like very very involved and very tedious in some way. Like it would be nice if we would spread out.
Yeah, I feel like the objective for it is just to kind of like crank it all out at one point and just be able to like get it done. But I mean, obviously they had different like objectives and stuff as well, but I feel like it might have been a little bit, it put a lot of pressure on everybody in the situation. But I mean, it was effective as well. But
I'm also thinking maybe the Super Saturday was also effective when it comes to learning maybe their behavior amongst each other, their ability in working together, which is also right even for this interview process. I can see my Zoom is alerting me with, concerning the time, but I think we just have to rush through before we get off time. So
we can always start another video.
Okay.
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
So what was the question again?
Do you think there would be a better way to structure the on-campus interview and recruiting?
I feel like the way that they did it with the Super Saturday kind of gave them the opportunity to have a lot of people there at one time to interview them. So I feel like it was effective in that way rather than like trying to seek out different employees and then taking the time to interview each of them individually.
Okay.
So I feel like it was good that they were able to save themselves some time, but I feel like that also didn't give them the time to get to know the candidates as well as they could have.
So what can be the advantages of the Super Saturday or the disadvantages of the same?
Like maybe able to have advantages because you have all of these different candidates that came from these schools. So maybe without like a super Saturday, like a big, I don't know, event like this, you might not be able to have as much attention from all these other schools.
Yeah.
But like disadvantages is kind of what Cynthia's saying. It's a lot to all have in one day to have, and so maybe you could spread it out.
Because I feel like at the end of the day, they'd probably be pretty exhausted and wouldn't have as much attention towards those candidates towards the end.
Okay.
The only advantage that I could see really in the Super Saturday is when they have those gatherings, and then they're able to see how people interact with each other, so they could see social skills as well, and attitudes and stuff, like aside from what they have can bring, they have the skills that they could offer. And yeah.
Okay. I'm also thinking. I'm of the opinion. The Super Saturday is also um, it's also reaping money from the organization, because I'm thinking um, if they have many people coming to the Super Saturday, they'll have to take lunch, breakfast, or all those kind of stuff. So that means the organization will be spending so much money on these people, and not all of them will be recruited. So I think the organization is also losing money there. Compared to other interview whereby people just walk in, they be interviewed and all that stuff, and then maybe they get a job. So I think the Super Saturday will be the organization can be losing some money, in my opinion. Just thinking so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because don't they have to also house those candidates, like
Mm-hmm.
put them in a hotel, or I don't know what. So it's this big event, it can't be just in the dorms, but it's probably have to house them somewhere.
Okay. So I will just be wrapping up and be asking us some few questions, maybe on our understanding of this week. So, what will you say is the difference between recruiting and hiring?
I think recruiting is more of like the process of looking for people. So I was more of like them going out to the campuses and finding the candidates they wanted to have. And then hiring was a super Saturday, going through all the interviews and filtering out which candidates that were taken from recruiting would be for the best fit for the company.
Okay.
I agree.
And what is your take home when it came to this case about recruiting? What did you learn about the case? Something that came up
Um,
for you even to learn with the recruiting process?
um, my take on that one is that the way they have strategized it in the recruiting process, where they go out to the schools and they have this core campuses that they recruit from, but they also have all the other colleges that are, that they go, well, they also offer it to the non-core ones. But it's just having that pool of candidates. Nice to have that pool of candidates, and they're not scrambling, and then they're ready. So for someone, for a summer associate program, they're ready for that, before, that time. So it's just nice to have that, be prepared, have that a good pool of candidates.
I agree with you. It is important for any organization, maybe even to have a place, something like a pool of where they get uh, uh, their recruits. Like into this case, whereby now their focus was on campuses, and I think this was the major reason as to why they maintained their standard of high performance, because actually they knew even ahead of who will be coming in, even before somebody else leaves. So actually that one helped them even the stress of trying to maybe seek for recruits all around by maybe posting job position to the internet, and maybe getting some people from all around even coming in even for the same.